I'm Julia Davis, a film major who stumbled into the business world with no experience in 2006. I was able to fail enough to learn how to run a seven-figure business and have provided consulting services to over 200 individually owned companies. Through this podcast, I hope to provide some perspective on the growth and grit it takes to accomplish big goals and share some hard lessons I've had to learn along the way. Today's guest on the Growth and Grit podcast is a powerhouse in the world of talent strategy, Anthony Cayman. He comes in with 20 years of experience helping almost 5,000 people find a placement in their career. And he's built a career around one mission, which is connecting top tier talent to great companies. So we're going to talk about everything in the recruiting world today on this podcast. So if you're looking to build a high performance team or you just need help in the recruiting field, Anthony hopefully will give us some great tips and tricks and how to do that. So if you're tuning in and recruiting is something you need to work on, this is going to be a great podcast for you. So thanks so much, Anthony, for joining me on here today. I'm really excited about this one.
Julia, I'm so thrilled. I saw your, I saw a couple of podcasts that you had online, and when I reached out to you as a new business owner, I reached out. I said, "Hey, I'd like to connect and collaborate with you," because once I saw your podcast, I'm like, "This is a person I got to collaborate with, right?" Networking, and I didn't think you'd reach back out, but you did. And here we are doing a podcast.
I'm pumped. I think this is going to be great because you've got a skill that most businesses need, which is great talent. Hiring and finding great talent in their business. We both know that your business is only as good as the people who work in it. So
That's right.
As we dive into this, can you just give us maybe just a little bit of a background on how, you realized you had a skill in recruiting? Like what made you want to do this type of career?
Oh gosh. I was like, very young and didn't really know what direction to follow after, being an actor and got myself into a job, and that job fell apart, and I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And, I looked at my family members, my sister and my wife, and sure enough, they were working for a very large enterprise level company doing staffing and recruiting. And, they called me out of the blue and said, I know you're looking. Why don't you just try this? Why don't you just try recruiting? I'm like, what's recruiting? What's staffing? I don't even know what it is. And I think 7 interviews later, I landed myself the job. And the first few months, oh man, I was like, what did I get myself into? Because as I was interviewing candidates, I thought I was doing a great job. But I'd placed them and sure enough, it didn't really work out. Something bad would really, really happen. I could tell you stories if you want, Julia, but I don't know how long your podcast can go. But yeah, I was like, oh my God, I think I made a mistake. I don't want to be in this industry. This is tough, because you interview people and you think, I found the right person. This is the greatest person in the world. And then they don't really deliver. They don't deliver. And as a staffing recruiting professional, my clients, the hiring managers and decision makers, they're relying on me to be able to make placements. And so again, 25 years ago, when I first started into staffing, I was like, oh boy, oh God, oh. But then I had a really cool boss that kept saying, just stick to it. You've got the personality to do this. I know it's tough. Just keep going. You're going to figure it out. And then I stuck to it. And year over year, I just really enjoyed seeing people get placed, Julia, where, like there was this one person that I placed. When he came to me at first, I was like, oh, I don't know. I was being really, really tough on the candidates after all the headaches that I've been through the first year. And he came to me, he's like, hey, I'm out of college. Like, I really need your help. I really need to get a job. I want to be, an accountant, and I want to do this and that. And so I placed the guy. And at first I was like, I don't know if he's going to get placed, because I mean, he just didn't look like, an accountant, he just didn't act like one. He didn't talk like one. Like he didn't have the experience. He was so inexperienced, but one thing that drove him was his hunger. And he was so hungry and so passionate, like, I can do this. I promise I could do it. I took the shot and I introduced him to a client. Lo and behold, I think I reached out to him maybe one time within that, time frame. And then I just kind of simply forgot that I placed him. And this was early on in my career where, I was just placing people and I was excited to get them placed. About 10 years after I had placed him, he had reached out to me. He said, "Hey, do you remember me?" Like, "I think so." And then he jogged my memory and said, "Well, now I'm the CFO of this company and I'm running the accounting department." It was like only like 10 years after, like how the heck did that happen? So, that's the reason why I kept sticking to it, is because hearing those amazing stories of how people get, placed and they grow with the company, and or the clients, the customers, the hiring managers that are hiring the folks, they land themselves a really awesome applicant, and that boosts their trajectory, that boosts their revenue stream, that, and then they call, it's like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best person in the world. I can't believe it. They've been here for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years and they've stuck." Part of the thing though isn't so much, hiring the right person. It's actually leading from the front too. And it's actually, um, I guess, owning, what you're about, your brand. And I think when people believe in you and as a small business, they're going to follow and they're going to grow with you, and they're going to cater to what we're all about, and they'll stick with you. And so I hope that today's podcast, some of the questions and answers might help some of the new owners uncover some strategies.
And when it comes to like leadership qualities and high level roles, because a lot of businesses are looking for people to lead teams or lead businesses in the future, what would you say is a quality that you're like, this is what I've noticed when I'm finding applicants, is a quality in somebody who I can tell will potentially, who knows ever, right? But like will potentially lead well.
I think passion has a lot to do with it. Someone who is very prepared for the interview. When you first bring them on board, it's the way they carry themselves throughout the whole recruiting life cycle. Um, how did they apply to the job? Did they reach out to me? And did they send a thank you letter? Were they following up with me charismatically? And all those things sort of point to the green light go when it comes to someone who's going to lead. Also, it's it's how they formulate their answers, and how they speak with you with maybe their, I don't know, the lexicon of the vocabulary that they use, and all those things, and then references. You got to check references to see, hey, if I was to give this person a leadership role in the future, and you're asking these references the same type of questions, again, keeping it simple, how would they perform in a leadership role supporting 3, 4, 5 other employees? How would they motivate some of these employees to go out and grind it out? And so those references will also be of help to you as well, in determining whether or not a person could be a leader, right?
Yeah, yeah. References are always great because they'll be honest with you, and sometimes applicants won't. You just people are always trying to put their best foot forward, but the references really tell the story of their past experience, right?
Right.
Um, what are what are some of the biggest mistakes in recruiting you see companies make?
Ooh, I think the biggest mistake would be like treating hiring like a to-do list and not a strategy. Like, for example, interviewing one candidate at a time limits your options. And according to Robert Half, a very large, reputable enterprise level staffing firm, they said that 80% of the candidates won't wait 2 weeks. And so you got to move quickly. And so to move quickly, you interview back to back. And when you interview back to back, you compare and contrast. And then I would say another thing would be to stick, just sticking to job boards misses great talent. You gotta go above just posting things on the job boards, and then dull job posts don't really inspire people. So interviewing multiple candidates to compare, using varied sources, not just job boards.
What are some very sources? Sorry to interrupt, but I want to expand on that a little bit. So when you say like varied sources, what do you mean? Like what are you
That's
referring to?
good. So varied sources, like for example, like just reaching out to people within your network. When I first launched HireDirectNow.com, the first thing I did was I let my family and friends know that, hey, I'm opening this up. I'm going to need all the friends I can get to make this launch work. And so just reaching out to people, right? That's hey, who do you know that can help me do this? And hey, I'm not a know-it-all. I'm not going to be able to do that. And can you help me with this website? And how do I do some of the bookkeeping and accounting? So all these things, right, naturally aren't on the job boards. They're different varied sources. But also going out to networking events, like be a scout, a talent scout. You got to be in front of where some of the talent will be. And sometimes going out to these networking events specifically that might cater to what you're looking for, you might meet someone that knows someone that knows someone that knows someone else that might refer them and say they're a great fit for your company. And so networking in general, in fact, I think according to SHRM, referrals are 4 times likely to get hired faster.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, because you just save all the research because somebody knows them and you trust that person. So I do think that that's a really accurate one. Um, let's switch gears a little bit to retention because let's say companies, okay, got hiring down, we're bringing in people in the door. But I've noticed in some businesses, turnover rates are really high. So there's got to be pieces that are missing in the funnel as far as, okay, we hire somebody. What are some best practices when you hire someone to keep them retained and engaged? Like based on your experience, what could you tell us that would help that?
Yeah, you gotta assess like culture fit during the interviews. You gotta assess the vibe, kind of like a vibe check. Tell stories about your company, so that they understand what they're going to get themselves into. Be really brutally honest about the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's nothing wrong with being honest right from the get go, because then that person knows what they're signing themselves up to. And you could tell in an interview when you're giving the good, bad, and the ugly, the facial expressions, the body language. Are they vibing with what you're saying? Are they going to get you out of the funk? Hey, you know what? We're really good at this. These are the top 3 things that I know my strengths are. I'm hiring for this. These are some of the weaknesses. Do you think you could deliver those weaknesses so that they could be part of our strengths and we can grow together? I mean, just being really brutally down to earth about all of this. So that way, when the person gets hired on, they're going to last. But if you get the vibe during the interview and you're being open and honest and like you're pouring your heart out, you get that vibe that I don't think they're really interested. That's probably a sign. That's your red flag. Don't go with it. Don't hire that person because they won't last.
As businesses scale and grow and create more systems and structures, what do you think are the most important roles for a company to fill and make sure you have somebody really good in place as like you've seen companies build? Like what do you recruit for the most? Is it like a CFO? Is it like a sales manager? What do you think is like the structure there? Do you know what I mean?
In larger enterprise level companies, I would say that the recruiting is done at the staff level. A lot of recruiting at the staff level. My focus has been in information technology, previously accounting and finance, previous to that, administration, human resources. And so I can kind of talk to those things. So information technology, I would say system engineer, cloud engineer, data engineer, data scientist, business intelligence. And then in terms of accounting and finance, I'd say, AP, AR, staff accountants. Those are really heavy right now on the enterprise front. And then in terms of like HR, human resources generalist, administrative professional, sales, I would say there's a lot of sales positions out there. It almost seems like everyone's, wanting to hire really great salespeople to perform and generate revenue. Um, and I would also think that in operations, like, wow, manufacturing operations, whether it's like, mechanical engineers or production managers and manufacturing managers and all those types of positions, there's absolutely a need there too.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, I want to ask you one more question about the mistakes that companies make because as you placed people, I'm sure people have turned over, right? Like, people you placed have turned over, or the companies have turned over the people. Is there something that you notice the companies that can retain people long term? Is there something they do differently than the ones that you're constantly having to rehire for?
So if you think about a new person, a new employee coming into the fold, and you want to hire them on, you want to welcome them with open arms. So think about like how you would feel as a new employee. How would you want to be treated? Think about, you know, you're interviewing for the job. You probably interviewed with 4 or 5 different companies, and you just landed this job and you accepted the job. You chose to join this company. And so now you want that reciprocated, right? They should have they hopefully they chose you to land the job, and they chose you, and you landed the job. And so it kind of like works both ways. That employee is going to give you everything they've got. You have to give them everything they got, especially in the first week, 2, 3, the first month, the second month, the third month. Like you got to make them feel like you're giving them everything, every tool, empowerment to make them feel like they made the right decision, because that first few weeks, that first few months is where the magic really occurs for the long-term relationship to expand.
That's such a good answer. I think you're so right about that because I think sometimes in business, it comes like an exclusive club, right? Where the person gets hired on and they have to like earn the right to be welcomed and like earn the right to be in the club when it's in reality, like you picked that person picked you. It should really, they're already in the club. The second you hired them, they should be a part of the team. It shouldn't be like they have to qualify to be a part of that team. And I think that's a really good point because I do think that's where a lot of turnover happens is people are like, forget it. If it's so hard to make a friend here, like I'm probably just going to move on to something else or pick a different business to be a part of.
And
But I think that's a really good point.
Julia, part of the ways that business owners can actually ensure that everyone is involved in the hiring process and making sure that everyone is welcoming is have everyone that's on the team, as many people as possible. I mean, not the whole, clan, but the people that are going to be working alongside, have them interview the person too. Meet them before they're hired on. There's nothing wrong with that collaboration and getting to know you, because once people get to know everyone, they suddenly, feel compelled, like, I remember interviewing that person. So great on the interview. All right, I'm going to make sure that I help them throughout their whole start, so that, we could partner together and we can get some things done. Right. So people then feel compelled to help too, without being told, hey, make sure that you're helping that new person. Well, it's like, well, I'm not really invested. I really didn't really, I don't even know the person. I'm now getting to know the person, but maybe they can get to know the person during the interview process. And so just having multiple people in the interview process also helps.
And I think those best practices are so solid because I don't know that people truly understand the cost of doing this the wrong way. Like there's a big cost associated with heavy turnover because if you're constantly having to replace all these positions and retrain everybody and if you're not doing this well and you have to consistently replace people in your business, the cost of that is not only time and energy, but it's money because somebody who is really qualified and doing great, you turn them off to what you're doing. Now you have to spend thousands of dollars to get somebody else retained and replaced when you could have just done a better job with the first person and kept them around, you know? So
It's not just the cost of rehiring, it's the cost of your brand, you know? So, someone comes in, doesn't work out, how many people does that person know that didn't work out? Right? And then conversely, like your brand, what if that person was in the seat 3, 4, 5 months, they are engaged with clients and then they're not there anymore? What's the cost in how the clients view you and what they view of your company? It's like all those things are a cost, believe it or not. And it might not be monetary at the moment, but it adds up altogether.
it does add up. If people want to find you, Anthony, or they're in a need for, a high level, talent acquisition person, where would they find you? How could they find you? And, how should they reach out?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only Anthony Cayman. And also, let's see here. They could find me on our website, hiredirectnow.com. And yeah, I'm ready and available to help anyone that's looking for assistance, whether you're looking for an opportunity to land a career, or whether you're looking to hire someone on a temporary or direct hire basis. I got you covered.
I love that. That's so helpful. Thank you so much for all the information and all the little trade secrets on here. I think this is going to be very helpful for people.
You got it. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.